Hey guys, how's it going? Here's part 5 of the vlog I recorded with Caroline. One of the reasons why we set up this group was because of the misuse of disabled parking bays and radar keys and toilets and stuff. Now, a lot of people who have watched my video blog will know my opinion on the subject, but will have never really, unless they've read most of your posts on the group, will not know your opinion. What is your opinion about misuse of disabled parking bays, toilets and so on?
Oh God, you do just shove these on me and I've got to think on the spot. Right,
well, that's the whole point.
Okay, let's start with toilets. I think it is the height of ignorance to use a disabled toilet if physically you do not need to. Now, I have read some people's comments about this subject, and they say, oh, well, I've done it myself. I'm able-bodied, but when there's a massive queue in the ladies and I'm busting, I don't think it's any harm to rush into a disabled toilet. No, well, you wouldn't, because you're not disabled. But if you are disabled and you cannot get into a standard toilet cubicle, then yes, you would think it was a problem. And this is where I think ignorance plays a major part, and
thoughtlessness.
Yes, that's the word I was looking for, thank you. Because I'm in a wheelchair, yeah, as I'm sure most people have gathered that by now. I want to go to the toilet, and I have a choice of two toilets. The ladies, which is right there in front of me, or the disabled toilet, which is like the other end of the shopping centre. Where do I go? Well, convenience, I would go in the ladies. But unfortunately, I don't have the luxury of using the best of both worlds as able-bodied people do. Because if I go into the ladies, I can't get my wheelchair into a cubicle. So I either have to park my chair with a footrest in the doorway, try and stand on the 2 feet that I have, and scuffle over onto the toilet, then do my business with the door wide open. No, I don't think so. So I am going to travel that extra 100 yards, 200 yards, 300 yards, however it is, further to the disabled toilet. So I can have a bit of common decency and actually get into the room and close the door behind me and pee away in private. Well, I'm sorry. That's how I feel. And for someone to say, oh yes, but I don't take too long, I'm only in there for seconds. Well, I'm sorry. I used to be walking, as I have mentioned before. I know how long it takes to go for a pee. While you're walking, you have to get in, you have to shut the door, you have to get your cacks down, you have to then sit on the toilet, you then have to wait as long as it takes for the pee to flipping happen, and if the toilet seat's freezing cold, that's going to take even longer. Then you have to dry yourself, because we're not like men and we can just shake and drip dry and walk out with wet patches on the tips of our shoes. And then you have to pull your cacks back up, make sure your skirt's down, trousers are up and no tissue hanging out the back of you or whatever, and then get out of the toilet. That does not take 2 seconds, I'm sorry. And if you're a wheelchair person who has an a colostomy bag that is filled to the brim and about to burst, those 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes are crucial.
Yeah, but people could turn around and say, well, they've always made sure that there is no one waiting for the disabled toilet when they've gone and used it.
So that when you come out and there's someone sitting there waiting, how do you feel? They have no remorse whatsoever. Oh, sorry, mate. And walk on. And I know because I've had that done to me. But, difference is, if the disabled toilet doubles as a baby changing unit, a complete different story. Because you have to have somewhere to change your child. I know that, as I'm a mother of 2. So I appreciate that, and I would never bat an eyelid, no problem. But it's when it's a designated disabled toilet only. And I'll tell you something else I don't have a problem with either, and that is a mother or father taking a little tot in there, because you've got more room to play with. I don't mind that either. It's when you get these young ones that just, oh, I'll just rush in here, nobody needs it. But when you walk out and I'm sitting there waiting with like a face like thunder, hello? Yes, I do have a problem.
Disabled parking bays.
Off with their legs, put them in a wheelchair and see how they bloody like it. Seriously. Because there are no excuses for that one. There isn't. in my mind, there are just not an excuse in the world that can excuse somebody for using a disabled bay that does not display a disabled badge and has absolutely bugger all wrong with them. Can you think of any rational excuse why they should use a disabled bay?
No.
Again, being a wheelchair user, you need that extra space either side of the car. Because if you're the driver, you need it on the driver's side. If you're a passenger, you need it on the passenger side. You need to be able to open your door wide to enable your wheelchair to come down the side of the car so you can transfer from the car seat into your wheelchair. A normal standard parking bay does not have that facility. So when it's a case of, oh, I only rushed into the cash point, so park 10 feet over there in a normal bay, you've only got 10 feet more to walk. Oh, I'm sorry, was that too much effort for you? Oh, yeah, well, I'm in a hurry. Yeah, well, so am I. But I've had to circle the car park 5 bloody times waiting for you to go to your cash point. I'm in a hurry too. So, you're better than me, are you? Your time scale or your time frame is more important than mine, is it? No, sorry. They should bring in another system where only people who need the radar key to access a disabled toilet for physical reasons, i.e. like ourselves, we need the wheelchair space, yeah? Or they've got a walking frame, or they need the handrails because they're unsteady on the feet, many different things, yeah? There has to be something brought in that these people, like us, have a certificate of some sort that is given by your doctor or something, or a governing body that entitles you to a radar key.
Because I think that's half the problem. I know a lot of people on the group have said that, oh, my father's disabled, but you wouldn't be able to tell. Do you know what I mean?
That's where a doctor comes in, because your doctor knows your history. He knows your health history. Yeah. So who better to decide whether you're classed as disabled? But then it depends on how
debilitating.
Yeah, that condition is to your everyday life. Because wearing glasses is a form of disability. But does that stop you from using a public toilet? No. Does that stop you walking an extra 10 feet to the shop from a parking bay? No. So, there has to be, really strong guidelines and rules that says, well, this and this is fine, that and that isn't. Yes, it's classed as a disability, but it doesn't actually stop you from using a normal parking bay or a normal toilet.
What about companies that say that the parking bays are only complimentary anyway, so they have to, just because they have them there because they have to. They don't monitor them or anything like that. They have them there because they have to. And we get accused of...
Off with their heads!
And we get accused of another typical example of, oh, well, we think the whole world owes us something because we've got these parking bays.
Well, excuse me on that score, yes, the world does owe me, because God put me in a wheelchair for a reason. And if that is so I can sit here and bitch about able-bodied people with absolutely bugger all wrong with them nicking my parking bay, then I will do so. And if that makes you think that's the world owing me a living, then that's your ignorance. Fine. My answer is, get in a damn wheelchair, spend a whole week without cheating, and see how you like your parking bay being taken. Yeah? But no. Oh, well, there's no need to have an attitude like that. Oh, yes, there is. There is a major reason for me to have an attitude like this, because I cannot get my wheelchair between two parked cars in a normal standard bay. And if you are supplying a... Shut up! Shut up! I'm on one! And if you are supplying a disabled bay, whether you have to or not is irrelevant. Your company is associated with that car park, so therefore you need to grow a backbone and take responsibility for what you are providing for your customers. And if your customers are not happy, then you need to do something about it. Shut up! What was the other question?
Okay, The final question on this subject is...
You sure you want to ask it?
No, I do. The final question on this subject.
Why is it you always manage to get me on one?
I know, it's great. The final question on this part of the thing, before we finish and actually start talking about what people have done.
Which we were supposed to have already done.
We were supposed to have already done.
You were supposed to have already started that one.
The fact that you can get radar keys for disabled toilets on eBay.
I told you didn't want to ask that one. Ignorance, selfish, money grabbing.
Swear, I don't care.
I do. My mother might be listening. No, I do. Unfortunately, legislation is too lax because, again, this reverts back to the disabled toilets argument. All public disabled toilets should have the radar system in place. It should have a radar lock. And but then you see this is also wrong as well. I'll explain why in a moment, but unless you have a blue badge, you cannot get a radar key. That's the way it should be.
You shouldn't be able to get a radar key if you have a blue badge. If you don't have it.
Yes. But the problem with that is there are lots of people out there who do have a blue badge that are not entitled to it. I'm not trying to segregate people or we're more important than anybody else, far from it. And I hope that people that are listening have realised we're not that type of people. We live life to the full as much as we can. Hence the water skiing, scuba diving, horse riding and God knows what else. You know, and dressing up like tarts and Vickers and God knows what else, you know. We enjoy life.
Honey, that's a whole other blog.
Yes, I know, but I'm just saying that, you know, we are the type of people that, we're not like, we don't have this, how can I put it that makes sense? We're not the type of people, and I can speak for you because I know I can, because, you know, we've had this conversation many, many times. Me and you, we're not the type of people that go around with a chip on our shoulder. No. We're not someone that has an attitude, but we are a strong, strong believer in injustice. But I don't walk around with an attitude like, get out of my way, I'm coming through, and I deserve to be there before you, and that toilet is mine, and that parking bay is mine. I know I've said as much, but I don't believe that my name is on it, but I do believe I do need that parking bay more than an able-bodied person, for obvious reasons. I need to be able to have my chair come down the side of a car. Do you think the owner of the car next to mine, in standard bays, would appreciate me scratching the side of their car to bring my wheelchair down the side so I can get in it because a disabled bay wasn't available? Unless the situation personally affects you, you're not bothered.
Yeah, that's
why a lot of people say, well, I don't see the problem. I rush in and rush out. I'm only going to the cash point. Oh, I ordered them quickly. There was nobody waiting at the time. It doesn't personally affect you. You've got what you wanted. There was 2 people in front of you to the ladies. You didn't want to wait, so you rushed into the disabled toilet. Job done. Pardon the pun. You know, you've got the result you wanted. You've gone to the toilet when you've wanted. I didn't have that luxury because I've come along to the disabled toilet. It is engaged. Joe Bloggs walks out. Nothing wrong with them. And I know there are some disabilities whereas it's not obvious. We know that. But I'm talking outside of that. Yeah? But people will say, well, what if it was a disabled person in there? You'd still be in the same situation. Yes, I would. But it would be more tolerable because they needed it as much as I did. So why on earth would anybody want to say anything about that? You wouldn't.